I just thought you didn't think anything, you dumb piece of shit. Oh, hey! Hey! Let's play Bass. Oh my god, I'm a German, so this was hell. Welcome to a new place. Short in your games. Today I'm going to play a game by Orino, which is, I think, a team. Given their credits, there was a whole team involved. Teamwork makes the dream work, as they say. Or the nightmares, since we're playing a horror game. This is part of the Spooktober 6th annual visual novel jam, and loyal followers know, or viewers. Followers sounds weird. Like, this is not a cult. I could never. But yeah, know that in October, usually I play quite a few visual novel jam games because they're always shorter than usual visual novels. And so, you know, my mouth doesn't just dry out and I lose my voice because, yeah, reading is not just fundamental, it's also kind of like reading out loud. It's actual work. Anyways. Estranged from your parents, you leave home in search of a new life. Things seem to be looking up when you find work at an old inn. As an employee, you're tasked with all sorts of work, maintaining the front desk, cleaning guest rooms, and tidying up the bars. After a co-worker unexpectedly quits, your main job is now in the kitchen working close with the owner, Mr. Tokuri, whose famous soup is to die for. So, we'll see what happens. I guess the soup is people. It's Soylent green all over. Alright. Also, I picked this game because it looks so cool. It looks really, really gorgeous. And I like the title. It's unusual, you know? And I always like unusual things in horror games. Also, I will not do voices because in the end they all sound the same, so... but I try to put in some emotion, so okay. Mr. Tokuri, hey you! What was your name again? Please enter your name. Oh, Hula. Alright, Hula. You're a minute late and we're short-staffed. Oof. A minute late? That's something you already clock? That's... oof. Mrs. Yameta quit this morning. Can you wipe the kitchen down and take care of the dishes from breakfast? I guess I have to. Right away, sir. That's not how I will say it. Now, I now regret that I gave it my channel name and not, like, a fictitious name. Despite being a week into the job, Mr. Tokuri still hasn't taken the time to remember my name. To be honest, I'm relieved. I take off my shoes and step up into the hallway of the old inn. When I started here a week ago, Mrs. Yameta told me it had been in Mr. Tokuri's family for 250 years. That is a long time. Speaking of Miss Yameta, did Mr. Tokuri just say she quit? I had seen her at work only yesterday and was a little hurt she hadn't said goodbye. Maybe there was a family emergency or something. I ran my knuckles along the plaster wall on the way to the kitchen, drawing blood. I imagine everyone who'd passed through over the last few centuries who had done the same. Why would they? What? Why? I hope not. That's weird. Hula, you are weird. I grab a cloth and spray bottle and wipe down the counters before heading to the sink. On the way there, something catches my eye. What is it? How long has that lock been there? Ah. I'm not usually a nosy person, but I suddenly feel a strong urge to approach the fridge. I have to know what's inside. As I stand there, a small voice in my head warns me that I should get back to work. Gripping the cloth in my hand, I... Oop! Wipe down the fridge. Yeah, why not wipe it down and see if the lock is really locked? No, 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 no! Hey, Hula! I look up to see Mr. Tokuri, red as a cherry, waving his arms at me. Are you fucking stupid? What'd I tell you to do, huh? I just thought you didn't think anything, you dumb piece of shit. Oh, hey! Hey! Hold your horses. I don't have time to listen to your excuses. I already told you, don't touch that refrigerator. Start to object, but my words catch in my throat like eels in a net. To be quite honest, I forgot that I wasn't supposed to touch it. You know what? It's about that time. Can you just go make up the guest rooms? I'll take care of the kitchen. Yes, sir. That's not how I would say this after this kind of verbal abuse. I leave the kitchen and head up the rickety old staircase. I've never been talked to that way in my life. Not even my father talked to me like that. Not even my father would never talk to me like that. Never, ever, ever, ever. Usually I reported to Mrs. Yameda during my shift, so I hadn't interacted much with Mr. Tokuri up until today. If outbursts like that are common, I can see why she might have quit. Yeah, why am I not quitting? This was uncalled for. By the time I finish cleaning up the guest rooms, it's time for lunch. Dreading the thought of bumping into Mr. Tokuri, I head downstairs and back to the kitchen. Because here's the truth, in very few cases is a workplace where you get treated like that worth it the wage, because usually it comes in twos, like you get treated like shit and you also get paid like shit. So quitting, and if you can, I mean, it's, you know, not everyone can, but quitting and finding something else, you know, usually also comes with a pay raise after a job like this. Alright, lunch is my favorite time of the day. Being as poor as I am, okay, it helps that Mr. Tokuri offers all of his employees free lunch during the shifts. I mean, if it's a restaurant, that's probably leftovers, so it's not really, you know, generous. Otherwise, it would have been thrown out. I prepare my tray and sit down at a little table in the corner of the kitchen. This past week, Mrs. Yameda and I both sat here, eating and bonding. But now, I'm all alone. People come from all over the country for the food. It's been featured in countless variety shows, and I'm lucky enough to eat it every day. Everything is good, but the soup is the best soup I've ever had in my entire life. Ooh, I'm sold. Okay, I get it now. I'm a big soup person. I eat soup all year. I love it. As I sit lamenting the absence of Mrs. Yameda, my mouth full of soup, Mr. Tokuri walks over and lowers himself into her usual chair with a small huff. I'm sorry for yelling at you earlier, Hula. With Miss Yameta quitting all of a sudden like that, the stress is getting to me today. He rests his elbows on the table and rubs his temples wearily. Maybe I'm not cut out to run this in. Empathy tugs at my heartstrings, and I awkwardly try to reassure him. There. You're a great boss. Don't be so hard on yourself. You know, I would say the second sentence after this outburst. I wouldn't say the first one. I'd be like, don't be so hard on yourself. That's enough, okay? You don't get more. Be happy about it. Thank you. Oh, that smiling face is amazing, though. A moment of silence follows, and I take another zip of soup. Sorry. Itchy nose. Do you know how long the inn has been in my family? 250 years, I've heard. Mrs. Yameda told me 250 years. Close. 251 years. I was never supposed to take it over. I had an older brother, but he died in a motorcycle accident. I was working for a big company in Germany at the time. I had to come home and help up my father. We never got along, and I wanted to be as far away from home as possible. But once I came back, well, everything was forgiven. Mr. Tokuri stares off into the distance. I'm sorry. For what? About your brother? Oh no, it's fine. It was a lifetime ago now. How's the food? It's amazing. The soup is the best I've ever had in my life. Thank you. That's wonderful to hear. It's a family recipe. Is it, Mrs. Yameda? Is it her? Or Miss Yameda. Miss, yeah. Once we're finished with lunch, I collect our dishes and wash them. The rest of the day goes by uneventfully. See, I'm from Germany, and we don't have terms for married women and unmarried women, because it's weird. We used to have, but we got rid of it. Anyways. I'm headed home now, Mr. Tokuri. Have a good rest of the night. See you tomorrow. Also, I think it's a little bit uncalled for that the boss dumps their issues on an employee that they just screamed at. That's a lot of additional baggage you have to carry as an employee, you know. I don't know, get some therapy, you know. That's my advice, Mr. Tokuri. Thank you, Hula. Be careful on the way home. I arrive back at my apartment, guided only by the occasional streetlight. Covered in sweat, I decide to take a bath. An ambulance. When I was young, I went to see the circus with my parents. I was so excited. Well, I'm looking forward to where this is going after the ambulance part. The final act was shallow diving. The performer climbed the ladder, gave a bow, and aimed straight for the kiddie pool. The only problem was that she missed. She crunched into the floor like a broken accordion, and I never saw her move again. Everyone in the audience gasped, except for my dad. He just laughed. Oh yeah, he's also the guy who screams at his kids. Sorry, I don't know what's wrong with my language today. Usually I'm not that bad. The memory along with the cool autumn air blowing in from the window make me shiver as I crawl into bed. That's it. All my life seems kind of sad. Don't even have a cat. I smack my alarm clock and roll over onto the floor. My stomach aches from hunger. I skipped dinner again last night. There was no way around it. I just don't have the money. So you don't get paid enough to afford dinner. So is it worth the free soup? I don't think so. Especially if this is a well-running restaurant that's known all over the world. Well, I brush my teeth, get dressed, and run to the bus. The inn is about 40 minutes out from the city at the base of a mountain. Today the bus is packed with tourists. It's also so far away. Oh man, nothing speaks for this job. Tourist number 1. Oh, the trees are so red and beautiful this time of year. Tourist number 2. A few months ago, Beautiful Japan posted a video about this area. She said the scenery is great, of course, but the soup at the Sansui Inn is to die for. You know, I love Beautiful Japan. We should have stayed at that inn. I tried making reservations, but it was booked until January. And they don't pay properly. I press the button for my stop, pay my fare, and step out into the fresh mountain air. After a short walk, the inn comes into view. I wish I could walk this road to work forever. Good morning, Mr. Takuri. Good morning, Hula. Oh, now he knows my name, after trauma dumping onto me. I arrive as the guests are being served breakfast. I put on my apron and get to work. Partway through chopping a small mountain of vegetables, I notice a woman standing in the kitchen doorway, tapping her foot expectantly. I glance over at Mr. Takuri, but he's busy finishing up the last few meals. I put down my knife and make my way over to the guest. Yes, ma'am, how may I help you? There's a hair in my soup. Can you get the manager? Her voice is curt. I can feel the anger simmering underneath, ready to boil over. Yes, ma'am. So sorry for the trouble. I walk across the kitchen to Mr. Takuri. Excuse me, Mr. Takuri. One of the guests is saying there's a hair in her soup. Huh? He turns to me and I nod in the direction of the sour-faced woman. Alright, I'll take care of this. Mr. Takuri waddles away in a huff. After a brief exchange, he leads the customer into the hallway. A few moments later, however, Mr. Takuri's voice shakes the old inn. You probably put the hair in there yourself! How dare you! I run out of the kitchen in an attempt to defuse the situation. I have to side with the customer was also shitty, and I have to side with my boss because he pays my horrible wages. Ma'am, please go back to your room. He's right. He's in charge of the cooking and he barely has any hair. I don't know if that's siding with the boss, to be quite honest. That is, you know, kind of siding with the guest here. But I never. You can be sure you're getting a bad review. Okay, ma'am. We work through the rest of the day in silence. Mr. Takuri mopes at the far end of the kitchen, merely nodding and grunting when necessary. We say nothing as we eat our lunch. After the guests finish dinner, I take my apron off and gather my things. I'm headed home, Mr. Takuri. Is there anything else you need before I go? After breakfast tomorrow, I have some errands to run. You can come in at 11. I need you to cover check-ins in the afternoon, but most importantly, I need you to clean the baths. Scrub them real good, would you? It's with a smile. It's not fun. Yes, sir. Well then, have a good night. See you tomorrow. You too, sir. Will the lady turn into soup? What a terrible day. Slipping into the tub, I think about how the only time I've ever felt true privacy was during bath time. I didn't have a bedroom of my own growing up, living with my parents in a one-room apartment. We were as poor as dirt. My dad couldn't work, so we both relied on my mom. It feels like a lifetime ago now. I close my eyes for a second. I feel a tug at my leg. I jump. Looking down, I see... Ew! Ah! The water disappears, replaced by dark, wriggling tendrils. Hair? It envelops me and holds me there in the water. I shiver in fear. I expect it to drag me under, but it cradles me gently back and forth like a mother with her baby. No, I don't. That is worse than if it was attacking me. I don't like that. Yeah, I can't do that realistically. I must have fallen asleep in the bath. I look around and there's no hair anywhere. Except for on my head anyway. Okay. That's enough of that for tonight. I pull the plug out of the bottom of the tub. The water funnels down the drain. I leave the bath and head back to my bedroom. I stare out of my window at the street below. The street is quiet, with only the occasional car passing by. My stomach rumbles so loudly I jolt awake. Jesus, Hula, eat dinner. 10:15. I miss my alarm. In a panic, I get dressed and run to the bus. I don't even have time to brush my teeth. Not wanting to cover the seat in my sweat, I opt to stand for the ride. What? How much sweating are you, Hula? That's not me. I sweat like a normal person. No shaming for the big sweaters, but if you want to stand because you sweat so much that you like, that's... Or is it very hot outside? Weird. I step off the bus and run down the mountain road toward the inn. The autumn mountain air stings my nostrils. No, it's not hot. It's autumn. As the inn comes into view, I check my watch. 11, right on time. I take my shoes off and step into the hallway of the old inn. I make it to the kitchen, but immediately freeze in the doorway. The lock is gone. Oh my god. No, I got screamed at the first time, so I will not... I don't know, we'll probably get a cool end. Yeah, we'll clean the baths. I decide to do as I was told and clean the baths. I head into the man's bath first. Armed with my trusty sponge and bottle of cleaner, I get to work. Once I feel satisfied with my work, I move on to the women's bath. Although Mr. Takuri was supposed to have emptied the tub last night, water sits stagnant at the bottom. I reach in and grab a fistful of hair from out of the drain. I hope my character has gloves on, because otherwise... The water goes down with a slurp. After disposing of the hair, I get back to the task at hand. I scrub and scrub until the tub is so clean you could eat off of it. I'm back. Welcome back, Mr. Takuri. Did anything happen while I was gone? No, sir. I cleaned the baths like you asked me to. Mr. Takuri stops in the doorway leading to the kitchen. What did you do with the lock? What lock, sir? Don't play dumb with me. The lock on the refrigerator. It's been like that since I got here, sir. Do you think I'm fucking stupid? Mr. Takuri gets so close to my face I can count his cavities. He shoves a sausage-like fingers in my chest. I asked you a question. Don't you think I'm fucking stupid? I won't take Mr. Takuri's abuse anymore. Fuck you! I ran out of the inn and down the winding mountain road. I didn't go back to the Sansui Inn the next day, nor the day after that. I moved from job to job in the city, quitting as soon as the stress got to be too much. Sorry, that was twice the word. That's fine. As much as I tried to erase all memory of that place, there was one thing that I returned to over and over again. For all my travels, I never once found a soup as delicious as Mr. Takuri's. Because it's people! I didn't want to admit it, but it was part of the reason I eventually went to school and became a chef. I studied hard. I read hundreds of books, tried thousands of recipes, but to no avail. I was left with no other choice. I had to go back to the Sansui Inn and learn Mr. Takuri's secret. Oh, I'm going back. It's been 15 years. Surely he's forgotten everything, I tell myself. I plan a day trip as I live about 3 hours away now. At noon, I finally make my way along the familiar winding mountain road, feeling as if no time had passed at all. I pass each familiar landmark, brimming with anticipation. It's up ahead, just around this bend. I peer into the thick shadow of the forest as I slowly drive up the winding road, searching for the gap in the trees where the entrance should be. But I never find the Sansui Inn. I drive up and down the mountain until dusk before finally giving up. The thought eats away at me throughout the long drive home. If only I could have learned that recipe. It was people. Ending too. Sorry, I clicked out of it because, I don't know. Brain fart? Probably. Alright. Let's skip to the first choice, I guess. No, maybe? Let's see if that will do something different. Okay, who washed the dishes this time? I go over to the sink and begin washing the mountain of breakfast dishes. By the time I'm done, it's time for lunch. Okay, so nothing really changes. We don't get the screaming match, but other than that, that's it. Okay, I sided with him again because I thought this would change something, that he will tell me the secret or so, because I've been such a nice employee, but I don't think it changed anything. So I guess a couple of the options only add a little bit more content and don't really affect the ending. But we'll see. I'll do very good in this run. I'll just be super nice. Don't do anything mean. No, sir, I cleaned the bath this morning. Excellent work, Hula. Thank you, sir. Have a good rest of the night. See you tomorrow. Hey, do you have a second? You know, Mr. Takuri pauses and thinks while I gather my things. I think you might be the best employee I've ever had. I flinch. Ooh, ooh. No one's ever said anything so nice to me before. That is so sad. No. I shake my head violently and wave my hands. This is not me. I've heard a lot of nice things, so I'm spoiled. No, I mean it. I think it's time to let you in on a little secret. Oop. Secret? What kind of secret? The secret of the soup, of course. I'll show you. Wait here. Oh, so that maybe this is where we get the secret, and the other ending is where we will be part of the soup. Mr. Takuri goes to a cabinet and takes out a jar. He heads down the hallway to the woman's bath and walks right in. After a short time, he returns, grinning from ear to ear. Wet jar in one hand, guest book in the other. What's that? He doesn't answer me. He flips open the guest book to today's date. He grabs a marker and labels the jar. He goes to the refrigerator and opens it. It's the complaining woman. It's filled with jars, all of them labeled. He places the new jar among the others. Oh, so maybe I was already being... maybe it was a premonition while I was in the first playthrough in the bath and with the hair and everything. Or he was already getting me ready for his soup. And because I left, I saved myself. Say hello to your new friend, ladies. Only ladies? So, Mr. Takuri turns and grabs me by the shoulder. How would you like to keep working for me, Hula? Well, will I get a wage increase? Because I need... Oh, we need to be a Brett now. It's Brett Summer now. It's Brett Autumn, actually. It's Brett Autumn. And we're going to... Yes. Just spoil his day. There you go. Yeah, whatever. Excuse me, ma'am. May I borrow Mr. Takuri for a second? So this is after the woman complained about the hair. I lead Mr. Takuri back into the kitchen and whisper to him. Look, Mr. Takuri, I know she's wrong, but you can't talk to people like that. Just be fun at breakfast and go on with your day. Mr. Takuri glares at me before heading out into the hallway again. I'm sorry about that, ma'am. You're right. I'll refund the breakfast and prepare another meal for you. Please wait in your room. That wasn't so hard, was it? Thank you. The guest heads back upstairs. Mr. Takuri comes back into the kitchen. He slaps the back of my head as hard as he can. My brain shakes in my skull. Excuse me? Don't you ever pull some shit like that again. You embarrassed me and the Sansui Inn. You should be ashamed of yourself. Well, I'm not. We work through the rest of the day in silence. Mr. Takuri mopes at the far end of the kitchen, merely nodding and grunting when necessary. We say nothing as we eat our lunch. After the guests finish dinner, I take my apron off and gather my things. Okay. And now we're going to do it. As I reach out to the refrigerator, a scorching heat radiates from my tailbone to my skull. I turn around to see Mr. Takuri holding a bloody knife. I fall into a heap on the ground. The heat has dissipated. My blood courses sharp through my veins like icicles. I look up at my boss, his eyes twitching and he's breathing heavily. I can't have you finding out my secret. It ruined my life. You? I'll be fine. No one cares about you. Just close your eyes. No one will miss you. I will be missed by plenty of people, okay? I promise. Oop. Okay. I think that was it. We got 3 endings. I don't know if there's probably a secret ending, but yeah, I'm fine with that. I really enjoyed this. This was very cool. I like that that we don't really see like a corpse or anything. I like that it's still like, even when he shows us, and it's in the bottle, it's this weird thing where we have to assume that he has some influence on maybe an entity or something that he guides, and that, I mean, he's not just grinding people into the soup. He's just taking something very specific from them to put in the soup, because it was all bottled up, and otherwise it would be probably too meaty, would probably too much like porridge or something, like horrible meat porridge, to put in a bottle. And I like that idea that that you feel like, okay, there's an additional secret to this. There's probably a weird ritual, either supernatural, or because I don't even think it's just him killing us. I think he's doing then something to our body that creates something. And it has a bit of a Junji Ito vibe, but that's because the first story I ever read from Junji Ito is about a fast food place. And there was one of the most disgusting comics I've ever read. But in an amazing way. Like, that's how I got hooked to Junji Ito, because it was so disgusting, but at the same time it was absolutely hypnotizing, just the idea of it. And this is the more like PG-13 version of this. Yeah, I really enjoyed this. I like that the 3 endings depended on how much you angered him and how much you didn't. And in general, that it was very easy to go through the endings, because clicking through it didn't take too long. That's a very nice thing. I guess you can save it. I didn't really... Yeah, I saw it in the menu, but I didn't really take... So I even could have made my life easier by saving the different sections, but I forgot it every single time, because I think clicking through was so fast that I didn't even bother to save, because it didn't really waste my time. I think the writing is good. There were a few typos, but honestly, with that amount of text, and they had 3 weeks, I think they worked on it, that's to be expected. But in general, the writing was good. I really love the visuals. I think the style of it's very simplistic, but very effective. It feels like an actual place. It doesn't feel like, an asset. It really feels like someone, envisioned a certain place and then put it to paper. To pixels. And I also liked Mr. Takori's design. It was really cool design, like his laughing face and everything is just absolutely gorgeous. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I also like the use of sound effects and music. Just all in all, a very cool, unique handwriting for these types of games. I really genuinely enjoyed myself, and I hope the developers stick with horror, because they do it quite well. How did you like it? What would you have done? Like, okay, the first outburst. I mean, I'm old enough now. That's the thing. I'm not a newbie. I'm not a junior, because I had horrible bosses in the past, and I didn't immediately quit. So I know how it is, especially when you're strapped for money and you kind of, you depend on the job. But nowadays, because I'm more in the privileged section where I can kind of choose jobs, I would not like scream at me like this, because this is a full outburst. Like, this is not someone's getting annoyed or like one word slips or something. This is a full anger outburst where I would immediately just say, okay, this is it. This is, just the end of this journey here. Time to quit. Because I think there's something about, having a bad day and just showing your true colors. And I think an outburst like this, that just doesn't happen. Like, when I have a really bad day, then I get more whiny in my voice, and I might even get just a tiny bit, not even louder, but more intense, But I don't think these insults would ever slip out of my mouth as easily as they did with him. Like, I don't think that would even be an unlocked fear of me now that this could happen, because I don't think, you know, I think about my colleagues and my boss in a way that I would immediately have the access to these kind of curse words. And I think that's it, you know, that I have a certain amount of respect towards my colleagues and my boss, that I would not be able to immediately, in the heat of the moment, have this vocabulary ready, you know. And I think that's the difference. And I think he showed that he immediately, that's how he thinks of people and his employees. So that's why he has it at the ready, you know. When he's angry, that's immediately the words he thinks of. And that's just the thing about this. That's why I would not. But the question is, not just would you now, you know, be like, well, I need the money, so I guess I have to. And were you ever in a situation like this? Because I think a lot of us have been, right? Where we had like a boss. Like I had, the thing is, I had good bosses and bad bosses, and then I had the worst boss. And I fortunately only had one worst boss. But he was so bad, he once had a hissy fit because someone took the last ice cubes from the fridge. They refilled the little thingy, the ice cube thingy, so they were already, but you know, you can't really, like, no one in our team was an X-man or woman and could just, you know, ice them up immediately. And he got a hissy fit because, and then he shouted at us. He was in the office, shouted in front of everyone. And he didn't know who used the last ice cube. And we all knew who it was, but we didn't, of course, we didn't say her name because, you know, we didn't want to out her. And he shouted in front of us. He screamed. No, it wasn't shouting. It was screaming. That we all know that he would drink his iced coffee first thing in the morning, and that he needed his iced coffee. And that's why it was such a show of disrespect that someone dared to use the last ice cubes. And it was so ridiculous. And I did not quit in that week because I was strapped for money. I was desperate. I needed... I was dependent on the money, and it was a hard time for me to find a job at that time. But yeah, had nothing to do with the game. Well, a little bit, my little rant, but that's the thing. I do them at the end of each game, so people can just click out of it if they don't want to. But yeah, share your worst boss stories, please. Also, if you're new to this channel, you know, that's what you get. I play a lot of indie horror games, and yes, I go on tangents quite occasionally. No, always. Pretty much always. But I try to keep them somehow related to the story. So yeah, if you're interested in that, you know, and you didn't bow out before, and feel free to subscribe. And I promise you, if I'm your boss, and you go to the fridge with my corpse juices, you know, I will be stern. You know, and I will give you a warning. But then also, it was I'm the one with the corpse juices, so, and also, I can respect my employees, you know, I can provide rules without being an asshole if they don't immediately get it. So I would never be this insulting to you. I would just be like, sit down with you and tell you, please don't open the fridge, you know. And just don't ask me what's in the fridge, please. Maybe someday I will tell you, but until then, I would be very happy if you didn't tell anyone. No, but I wouldn't lose my shit like that. I also wouldn't slap you on the head, because that's absolutely uncalled for, and I wouldn't scream at a customer like that. Even if it is a horrible customer, there's other ways to put customers down that are assholes. And I think in her case, she wasn't even wrong. I mean, she was not the friendliest, but there was a hair in her soup. So, you know, I would not lose my shit over something that I caused. So subscribe. Anyways, I hope you had a good time. I hope you have a wonderful day. And maybe see you next time. Bye. This is my self-recorded outro song, so I don't get hit with copyright claims. If you subscribe to a lot of fun tutorials, reviews, and let's plays.